Hi, this is Samira Kazemeni with Samiras Network, and I'm so excited to be here with you today with my beautiful co-host, Eliza Anderson, and our amazing guest today, running for U.S. Senate, Mark Meuser. Welcome to Samiras Network.
Thank you for having me.
Charming, handsome, smart. We're so excited you're here today.
That's right. I am so excited to have him.
I know.
I can't wait to hear the future.
The future.
Senator Mark Meuser.
Well, thank you. Those are very kind words.
Oh,
I'll try. I'll do my best to live up to it.
Oh, you already have. You're amazing. So tell us a little about yourself and how you got into politics. We know you do constitutional law.
Yeah, I've been involved in politics since I was about 14 years old. That's the
Wow.
first time I worked on a campaign.
That's so young. My son is 16.
Yeah.
Can't
Right.
imagine.
I went out, started knocking doors of my
Wow.
neighbors, introducing them to candidates when I was a young age. But as a teenager, that's when I loved to read, and as a teenager, that's when I started reading U.S. history and
Nice.
U.S. government and the biographies of our founding fathers. And so my love of good government started as a teenager, and then I've just been throughout the years have been involved with whether it's working for legislatures, drafting legislation, working for nonprofits, helping them get their legislation through, whether it's personal bills that come up that I'm personally concerned about, where I go and lobby legislatures on it, and and then as an attorney litigating bad bills that are unconstitutional, litigating government mandates in the courthouse. So I've been around good government, around being an active citizen, since I was a teenager.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Did you have a political party already at that time when you were a teenager?
I've always been about good government and always been about our Republican form of government.
Nice.
Our Republican form of government, which our Constitution guarantees to us,
Right.
is that we, the people, select our representatives who in turn vote on the laws which govern us. And so when I was looking at the parties when I first registered to vote, I felt that the Republican Party was the party that best encapsulated the Republican form of government that I learned about as a teenager.
Nice.
And so I have always been a Republican.
Wow, that is really good to know.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So you're running, and tomorrow is the voting.
Tomorrow is election
Make
day.
sure you vote.
Yes.
So tell us, why should we vote for you? And also one thing that I want to talk about, the next one, if you want to go into it, is the voting is two. You have two voting in the same ballot.
Yes. So let's start with that. Kamala Harris won the seat 6 years ago. She became vice president 2 years ago, and when she became vice president, Gavin Newsom was able to appoint a United States senator. Now, what's interesting is if you go clear back to 200 years ago, United States senators were appointed by the legislature. And the law was that a governor could appoint a senator until that would be valid until the next legislative session.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is when we changed our Constitution, that it went from the legislator selecting your United States senator to we the people selecting your United States senator. What that in turn, how the courts interpreted it was that a governor could make an appointment, but that appointment is only valid until election day, which is the start of the next legislative session.
Right.
And so the voters have the opportunity to select the next United States senator. But that selection is only till the end of the term, which would be November 9th to
Right.
January 3rd.
Right.
So the voters would naturally be voting for a 2-month term.
Term. Oh,
But this election is also when you would elect a next 6-year term.
right.
And so the voters are voting on what's called the partial term and the full term, or the short term and the full term. And so they're the same seat, just the finishing up of Kamala Harris's 6-year term, and then the start of the next 6-year term. So what I remind people is that you need to vote for me twice.
Twice.
Once for the full and once for the short term.
Oh,
And what happens if they only vote once?
Well, I mean, the thing is, people sometimes do not fill out every bubble. It's called an undervote.
I see.
And what the machines just will say that you left that one blank. But
You still get a vote?
the ones where you vote, those votes count.
Right.
But if you do not choose to vote, let's say there's a judge and you don't know any of the judge candidates and you leave it blank, all your other votes still count.
But not no, what I'm saying is, what if they only vote for you once and not twice? Like they don't know, they only vote for you once.
Well, then they're going to cast one vote. But what we're doing is asking everybody to vote for me
two
twice.
votes, yeah.
So in that ballot, we have to bubble both your names.
Yeah.
If we see your name, just bubble it.
Yes, Mark Meuser,
Mark-
M-U-S-E-R.
Okay.
And
twice.
tell us, what are you planning to do for California?
Well, the number one issue right now,
Homeless.
no, in California, the number one issue is inflation. These gas prices.
Oh my
Exactly.
God, yes,
So
yes, too
crazy.
much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Too much for everybody.
And so for inflation, the number one fix
Yes.
is we got to balance our budget.
Okay.
As families in California, we balance our budget. Our cities balance their budget. The counties balance their budget. The state balance their budget. But the United States federal government is not balancing their budget, and they haven't done it for probably almost well over 100 years, since the World War I. And when we do not balance our budgets, what's happening is the United States government just borrows the money and prints the money. But you don't have the correlation of more domestic supply or anything like that. And so when you're printing money, which is basically debt, what it ends up doing is driving up the cost on everybody.
Right.
And so we need to balance our budget.
And in what way do we balance the budget?
Well, what it means is you have to go, okay, how much income does the federal government get? And that's only the amount you can spend. You can't spend more money than you bring in. Just like, if you were to make $100,000 as a family, but you spent $120,000, you have to take a loan on that 20%. What the federal government is for the last 100 years is they keep taking loans and loans and loans and loans, and it creates this inflation that we are dealing with.
Right.
We also, so in order to balance our budget, we're going to have to go in there and look at federal spending.
Right.
Which means we need to eliminate some waste, fraud, abuse. There are plenty of places where we're doing two government agencies that are doing the exact same work. We need to go in there and remove the duplication spending, cut back on as many agencies are what they're doing. When it comes to our energy, the things that we need to do there is, when Russia invaded Ukraine, 20% of the world's oil production went off the market.
Right.
Wow.
Now you have 100% trying to buy 80%,
Yeah.
which starts driving the cost of oil. The only way you solve this temporary problem is by bringing in more production. Unfortunately, the current administration is doing the exact opposite. They're actually denying drilling permits, stopping people from drilling.
Right.
And so the United States government is doing the exact opposite of taking even more production off the lines.
Yeah.
And
Because we have oil in the United States, they're just not producing it.
we have more than enough oil in the United States.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for us.
And what we have is this unelected bureaucracy saying, you know what, we're not going to allow these people to drill. And that's not right, because, see, if you go back to the United States history, the reason why we separated from Great Britain, when you get down to the overarching principle, it was we wanted our representatives to pass the laws that bind us. But what's going on in the last couple of years under the COVID mandates and everything like that, you are having unelected bureaucrats, people who are never on your ballot, people who are not accountable to we the people, who are making the rules that are binding us. And there's no accountability here. And so what we have to do is we have to take that power back to our legislative branch. We cannot allow unelected bureaucrats to say, my personal opinion is that we needed to be drilling less oil, so I'm going to just deny all permits. No, that is a policy decision that needs to be made by Congress. If Congress wants to say, we're going to shut down the United States oil production, then your duly elected representative needs to go up and make that vote. It is not up to unelected bureaucrats who have no accountability to we the people, who to make decisions that are affecting our lives, affecting our pocketbooks.
Right. Wow. So are you saying that there are a lot of fraudulent activities happening right now?
There's a lot of fraudulent spending that's going on right now.
What's the main?
Well, let's just look at the COVID. Over
People got millions.
Can you tell us about
$100
that?
billion was sent to schools.
Right.
And they haven't spent it.
Oh no.
So it's
the
like
schools have not spent it.
Yeah, the schools haven't spent it. It's like they just gave this money out, hundreds of billions of dollars in emergency funds.
Right.
And the schools have just pocketed and put it in their bank accounts. $15 billion sent to California alone for CRT training, critical race training, and the billions of dollars that have I've seen reports that COVID relief funds given to people who were not entitled to those funds, and that the government has no way of now going and taking that money back. I mean, yes, COVID is just a treasure trove of government spending out of control. The money wasn't going to the people who actually needed it. The businesses or individuals who may not have been entitled to it were just raking in these government subsidies, and whether the money was needed, whether the money actually went to what the intended purpose is, a lot of fraudulent spending there.
But can you, what is your take on the COVID mandate?
Well, over the last 2 years, I've been involved in over 30 COVID mandate lawsuits.
Okay.
When they shut down the schools, I sued. That case is currently pending before the Ninth Circuit.
Nice.
When they shut down churches, I sued, and we took 3 cases on churches up to the Supreme Court, and we actually won those. When they shut down, like the barbers and beauticians, they said, they're not going to be open for the next 4 or 5 months. Well, we sued, and within a week we got them back open again. When they shut down our beaches, we sued, and within a couple of weeks we got beaches open again. So you believe
that we should have businesses open, churches open, because we're going to run out of money normally, and life would not go on?
Well, okay, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to play one on social media, but I have done a lot of research, and as an attorney, I talk to a lot of experts.
Okay.
And the scientific research that was publicly available, anybody could read this, prior to going into COVID. So this is what the public health officers knew, studied, and understood.
Okay.
What they understood was that it was against the Constitution to shut down American society unless you knew that somebody actually had a communicable disease.
Okay.
They had to have reasonable suspicion that you had COVID. But what happened in COVID is they decided to create a list of essential and non-essential. A government bureaucrat, no congressman voted on this list, a government bureaucrat created the list. And then another government bureaucrat said, if you're not on our list of essential or non-essential, then you're shut down. So we isolated people based upon their employment status rather than their health status.
Right.
And, monkeypox is kind of the latest
that's
thing.
a new thing.
And, Belgium recently said, if you have monkeypox, you must quarantine, go into isolation for 21 days. Wow. That is how public health has worked for the last several hundred years. COVID is the first example where we threw the book out
Yeah.
and said, your health status has absolutely no bearing on this decision. Instead, it is your employment status that's going to determine whether you isolate or don't isolate. And these are decisions being made by unelected bureaucrats who are not answerable to we the people. And so that's why I was one of the leading attorneys in the nation when it came to government mandates. Number one, these are rules being passed by people who are not accountable to we the people. Number two, it exceeded the Constitution. These public health officers knew. I've seen the training materials.
Okay.
They knew that what they were doing was unconstitutional.
Wow.
They knew it.
Okay.
Okay, it was unconstitutional. And it also went against the science, because what the science showed is that a shutdown only works if it's 100% shutdown for 10 months, which means no individual can have any contact with any other individual for 10 months.
Right.
A partial shutdown does not work, because what you do is you bring more people into contact with each other in fewer places. So instead of people going to their, to a restaurant to eat, now everybody was funneled into grocery stores. And so it's actually, and more people were crowding closer together.
Right.
And what you ended up doing is you took away all the opportunities of where people could go. You funneled more people into fewer places, picking winners and losers. And what ended up happening is you made the problem worse. And so what we saw with the COVID mandates is it violated the Constitution.
Yes.
It went against the science, and it went against common sense. Let me explain. You couldn't buy flowers at a flower shop, but you could buy flowers at the grocery store.
Right.
Not
You
fair.
could buy a big screen TV at Walmart, but you couldn't buy a big screen TV at Best Buy.
Right.
It made no sense.
Exactly.
It scientifically, it didn't make any sense.
Yes.
And constitutionally, it didn't make any sense.
Okay. So now that we're, on all these things, we already actually know that, and a lot of people are getting informed. There are schools right now, especially the chartered schools, who made their own rules, saying that no student can come to the school if they're not fully vaccinated. And so how can you be able to protect those who choose not to get vaccinated by the COVID vaccine? We're not talking about other vaccine, it's just that this COVID vaccine.
Yes, and so when Joe Biden attempted to use OSHA to mandate vaccines, I was a part of the first lawsuit filed against Joe Biden over the OSHA vaccine mandate. We took that case all the way to the Supreme Court, and we won. Now, there are many other vaccine mandates going on. But when it comes to schools, one of the things that we need to do is create more options and more choices.
Okay.
There were a couple attempts this last go around for school choice initiatives, where they would create a funding for children's education where the money followed the student rather than your zip code. Currently, what goes on is what zip code do you live in, and that school gets the money. And if you're rich enough, you can go buy a private school,
Right.
but the money doesn't follow you. And so there is some new attempts to say, no, the money follows the kid. Money follows the kids. We need to make it a little bit more free market. So
Right.
if you don't like the policies that your school is putting regarding, the curriculum or medical
Right.
decisions,
Right.
you should be able to decide, you know what, I'm going to take my kids to a private school or a different school.
Right.
Or
If they can't, what if they can't afford it?
and you can't afford it right now. A lot of people can't afford it right now, especially with inflation and gas prices the way that they are. That's why it's so important that we bring school choice to parents.
Right.
Where the money follows the
Then,
kids,
yeah.
so that if you as a parent say, you know what, this particular school is failing my children.
Right.
There are so many schools here in Los Angeles or around California where the school is failing the children.
Exactly.
And if you as a parent say, you know what, I'm not going to send my kid to this school, I'm going to find a way to get them to that school over there, that money now follows your kids to that school, whether it's a private school, a charter school, or a different public
So the
school.
government would pay you to take your school out, to take your child out, if they're
So
not
That's
vaccinated.
not
That's
that's not the current law. There
Right,
was
but
there was
that's what
there was a
But
proposition
that's when
that
they're not vaccinated.
yeah there was an attempt called the school. There was a
School
proposition,
choice.
school
Right.
choice, and that's what they were trying to do. Is every student in California would have a education fund,
Right.
and you basically any certified school
Should,
would be allowed to say, okay, this student is now here, and that money would now go to the school. You wouldn't get it as
but
a
this
parent.
is just a proposition.
No, no,
It's
yes,
not yet.
yes.
It's not yet. It did not.
implemented.
It did not get on the
Okay.
2022 ballot.
But that's what your plan is.
That there is going to be an attempt to
Okay.
bring it back in
Wow.
2024.
I like that one.
I like
But that's what this is. You know, the question is, what can we do?
Yeah.
The thing is, we got to give parents more choice because it doesn't matter whether it's the vaccine issue or if it's critical race theory or sex education in school or failing reading scores or failing math scores or failing, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter what the issue is. I mean, if a parent doesn't like the teacher,
They can remove.
or the school is just so run down because they're mismanaging funds,
Right.
you as a parent should, you know, you paid the taxpayer.
Right.
The,
That's
the
what
money
I
has been
said,
paid
yeah.
in.
We're paying that.
You're paying it. You should have a choice
Right.
to say, you know what, this is not what's best for my children.
Yeah.
Rather than being locked into a school because of your child's zip code, you need to have the flexibility to take your child somewhere else.
Even
And-
to a private school.
Private school.
and that's where that's where the proposition of the school choice propositions are working so hard to give you as a parent choice. Now again, that is not going to be on your ballot in 2022. There are efforts
Working
to
on it.
bring it on in 2024. You asked me what can we do?
What can
that is what we have to do. We
Okay.
have to get this on so that parents have options.
But just in case right now, if those parents that are listening or watching right now, where can they seek help right now? Because it's graduation. I know there are kids who are not allowed to even graduate and go up to the stage because of not being vaccinated. How can we help them?
Unfortunately, the courts here in California have basically allowed these unelected bureaucrats
Okay.
to do it. You can find attorneys, you know, there are some attorneys out there who are bringing these cases. The problem is courts are not quick. And it's going to be a long-term remedy.
Right.
And the thing is, you know, parents, or you're going to have to make your voice heard at school board meetings. You're going to have to, you know, if you're financially able to do it, you're going to need to go ahead and make your voice heard with your pocketbook of, you know, moving or taking your kids to another school district. A lot of people are moving out of the state of California. They're making their decisions
Right.
known that
A
way.
lot of people.
Yeah.
But
Real
ultimately, you know, it's going to be a political decision, which means in 2022, I call it the year of the parent party. You know, in 2010 was the year of the Tea Party. In 2022, I call it the year of the parent party. Parents are upset at how unelected bureaucrats have more say over their children's education
Yeah.
than they do.
Right.
And they're getting involved. They're encouraging people to run for school board, and they're getting behind them. Typically, the U.S. Senate race, which I'm running for, is the top of the ticket in the state. But in 2022, we're going to see parents really going out to vote for school boards this November.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is what we saw in San Francisco, where they got rid of some school board members. Parents are upset because of COVID and what is going on, whether it's kids not being allowed to graduate, whether it's kids being forced to wear masks when it does, there's no logical reason for it.
Right.
Or the shutting down of schools, or people not fighting for their children's protection and safety.
Right.
Parents are upset. And they're going to come out to the polls to vote this year. And they're looking for people who are going to be representing them and their children.
Nice.
And so the biggest things that I can tell parents to do is we got an election this November. Figure out who your school board trustees are. And if they haven't been fighting for your children, either run for school board,
Right.
or get behind somebody who is running for school board.
Right.
I've met communities that are getting whole slates of people, and these are the people who are going to be fighting for our children. Figure out, is your school board up for election this year? Not everybody has a school board election this year because we do staggered school boards. But if you're in a district that has a school board election this November,
Right.
figure out who is on it. If they fought for your kids, get behind them.
Okay.
If they didn't fight for your kids, figure out who's going to run against them and get behind that person. Because that's going to be the fastest way to getting solutions, is to have school boards that actually are going to put our students first, rather than the woke, progressive agenda of some unelected bureaucrat.
Right.
The thing that I think everyone is moving out of California and are upset about, number one is the gas price. Number two is raising rent or real estate. So people are moving to Arizona and so many other places. Do you think that's going to change, and how would you be involved in anything that would help with that?
Well, I'm running for U.S. Senate, which is more federal rather than state specific. The policies that are being put out of Sacramento right now have the high taxes, the high homelessness. Those are what we call state issues. The high crime. Those are typically state issues. That is what your governor is supposed to handle. That's what your state senate and your state assembly person are.
And they're not.
Yeah.
And they're not right now. So what I'm encouraging people to do is, if you do not like the direction that the state is going, make sure that you get out and vote for a new governor, for a new state senator, and a new state assembly. I'm going to deal with the national issues, which is our immigration laws, which is our energy independence, which is our inflation, that's our federal spending.
Okay.
We're going to deal with, the crime at the border, which is fentanyl, and the human trafficking that's going on right now. Those are the issues that I need to deal with at the federal level. And our education, so much of education decisions are being made at the federal level, because they say, oh, well, we're giving you the money, so we're going to dictate to you. No, what we have to do is we have to remove the power of the unelected bureaucrats in D.C. to decide what's best for your child here in Los Angeles County. Because you can't tell me that a bureaucrat in D.C. knows what's best for your child. Who knows that?
Right.
You as a parent, the teachers who are with the student, those are the people who need to be making the decision. Not somebody in D.C. who doesn't know who you are, who doesn't know what your child's needs are, doesn't understand your child's learning issues, and where their strengths are or where their weaknesses are.
Right.
And so we got to get the power out of D.C., we got to return it to local, and those are the issues that I'm going to deal with. And you know what? People move to states based upon the educational opportunities for their children. And right now, California is failing. I mean, you just go down the list. We are at the bottom of reading. We are at the bottom of math.
Wow.
Now, those are going to be state issues. But at the federal level, what we need to do is remove the federal influence and send it down local so parents have more control over what's going on.
Okay.
Wow.
So, but right now, since we're approaching election tomorrow, what I also want to hear from him is I mean, I still want to live in California, no matter what. I don't see myself living
It's a beautiful state. It's a beautiful state.
We have everything
weather,
here,
yeah.
right? It's just it's beautiful.
You could be in the ocean, and
Yeah.
3 hours later, you're in the
Snow.
mountains.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about the immigration, that people are coming so easy.
Yes.
And how would you say that is so unfair to so many people who have already been in the United States and cannot get the paperwork? So why not take care of those instead of just, I know you want to change that, but I mean, that's so unfair to bringing more people for no reason where they can't even take care of people who are here. So many people who are working, who are educated, don't even have paperwork here, and they open the borders and bring all these other people. And then for some reason, I've had this problem with construction, with employees. Nobody even wants to work. So where are they getting the money? Probably the government's paying because nobody wants to work. And people who don't have paperwork, I feel bad, but then I don't think it's fair that they want to get $15, $20, $25 an hour, where the citizens and the Americans and the educated people, our children, are not getting that kind of money in the future.
You're raising issues of the frustration of immigrants and Americans who have, were born here. It doesn't, people who are coming through the system legally, why are people who are coming across the southern border, contrary to our laws, getting preferential treatment?
Right.
Okay, and the thing is, Congress passes the laws. It's not up to the president to say, I'm not going to enforce those laws. That is an impeachable offense.
Right.
In fact, Andrew Johnson, the 17th president of the United States, was impeached because he refused to enforce the laws passed by Congress.
Okay.
And see, the problem we have done is we've allowed the administration, the president, to pick and choose which laws he is enforcing. And what we have to do, yes, are there problems with our immigration status or immigration laws? Yes, there are. But the solution is not, well, we're not going to enforce our laws. No. The thing is, Congress needs to come in and address the problems, but you do not allow the president to pick and choose which laws he's enforcing. The laws are the laws. It's up to Congress to pass those laws. And if there are problems, then Congress needs to deal with it. That's how our Constitution is set up. That is how we have our separation of powers. Congress makes the laws. The president executes the laws. He doesn't pick and choose which laws are enforceable.
Or depending on which party it came from.
That is trouble if every 4 years a new president comes in and the national policy changes.
Right.
No. That is Congress. Congress makes those decisions. It's the administration is just supposed to enforce the laws. They do not get the right
to choose
which laws they're enforcing.
Got it.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing to know.
So what do you say to all of Californians who want to vote for you today, who have voted for you, and who's excited to see you win tomorrow?
Well,
I'm already
excited. I'm already ready to cast my vote.
Very down to earth, very charming, very knowledgeable, already a lawyer. I mean, you have every possible thing. You care about children. You are into freedom. What America stands for California stands for.
Well, what I like to tell voters is your vote matters. Many people just feel that their vote doesn't matter and they don't participate. In fact, if a majority of Californians simply got out and voted, we would actually see government that's more representative of our values.
Right.
The answer is not, I'm protesting the elections and not participating. The thing is, you get out and you vote. It is the only poll that matters. And when you vote, you are able to tell your elected officials what is important to you. If you don't participate in the election system and keep voting in the same politicians, the politicians who shut down your church, who shut down your business, who shut down our kids' schools, they're going to continue to do the same thing. They're going to find a different excuse to do the exact same thing. And so what we have to do is tomorrow, June 7th, we have to get out and vote.
Actually,
and vote twice for me.
Twice for you.
Yeah, actually, because Californians, most of us are immigrants. We just got here, basically, right? 20 years old, 15 years old. So once we became an American citizen, we're really, we only care about the president and the vice president. The rest, okay, we can just, that's why they're all there forever, because we're not informed. Now that I'm so much informed with whatever you just said, very simple, and because of the issues right now, I feel blessed that, you know, there's somebody that I know is in alignment with my values and what I believe that should be implemented.
And I think America is, we are very lucky because we get to vote. Not every country gets to vote. There are countries who have a king and that's it. No one else matters. It's like whatever there is. In America, we get to vote. It's so important. That's why, you know.
And I'm gonna say this. Many people say in America it is a privilege to vote. And I'm going to actually correct that.
Okay.
In America, it is your duty.
To vote. There you go. It's our duty.
It's not a privilege, because a privilege says I can take advantage of this privilege or not.
Yeah, it's an option.
No, it's supposed to be your responsibility as an American, because the purpose of our election system is that you put in leaders who represent you.
Right.
When you do not participate, what you allow is for people to manipulate the system. When the silent majority is not participating in the system, that allows the bureaucrats, these unelected bureaucrats, to have a larger say than they're supposed to over decisions that affect your life.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons why I say it is your duty. If you don't like the fact that your business got shut down because some unelected bureaucrat said so, then get rid of Gavin Newsom. Don't vote for him.
Exactly.
Don't vote for the Democrat Party who supports him. Now, if you like the fact that the government said you're essential, but you're not, then vote for the same politicians. But don't complain about, you know, your kids being forced to take a vaccine, or don't complain about, you know, not being able to go to the beaches. And then vote for the same politicians.
And also, I think it's also very important that, you know, even though, for example, oh, we need to impeach this person, nothing happens if we try to impeach him after a year. Like, he's not performing, let's impeach him. It doesn't work. So it's another thing. Years later.
So you had 22 lawsuits against
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom and unelected bureaucrats in the state of California.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
He's a fighter. You don't want to get into a fight.
Yeah, well, I you know, during COVID.
You love lawsuits.
Well, you know what? I love fighting for Californians. I love fighting for we the people. I understand how our government's supposed to work. I understand that these unelected bureaucrats were not supposed to say, you're essential, you're not. Your business can be open, but your business can't be open. These kids in rich neighborhoods who go to private school, they can go to school, but your kid cannot. You know, this duplicate, or not duplicative, this duplicit system that we set out, you know, where right here in Los Angeles, Pineapple Hill couldn't serve food in a tent. But 10 feet away,
they can.
Their Hollywood studio
Right.
had a tent, and they could feed their employees.
Yeah.
This system of haves and have not, it reminds me of Dr. Seuss's book about
Oh.
sneetches and starbelly sneetches.
Right.
This system is so un-American, is so unconstitutional, and we need to get rid of them. And the same drive that I had of fighting for we the people during COVID, I'm going to go to D.C. as your United States Senator, and I'm going to fight the unelected bureaucrats in D.C. just like I fought them in the courthouse, but now I'm going to fight them with my vote and with the power of the United States purse, and we're going to say, no, you cannot do this. And no, we're going to take your power away, we're going to take your budget away, and you violated our Constitution, it's time for you to go find a new job.
Right.
Wow.
So there you go. I'm probably going to be sharing this with all my Filipino countrymen, my Filipino peeps out there.
Oh my
they
God.
need to really
Yes, get out.
Yeah,
Everybody,
get out and
everybody.
vote. It's very
Chinese,
important.
Spanish people, American people, Persians, Middle Eastern, Africans,
Yeah.
Americans. But the
We're
thing
all
is,
Americans.
We're all
We're all
Americans.
Americans.
Exactly. I'm a U.S. citizen,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
kind of American now.
The United States is a melting pot.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the United States so rich. You can go
Very.
into other countries, and everybody has the same background, the same colors, the same
culture, like same practices.
We have
but
a
you know what
freedom
is-
here. We have freedom that
Yeah.
because I'm Persian, women in Middle East general.
Yeah.
I mean, they do, but they don't have that much freedom.
Freedom, yeah. They don't have
don't.
the right to actually
You
speak
know,
too.
they don't.
Right, they don't.
I
And
wasn't
that's
allowed.
what's so important. Our federal government is not supposed to dictate to us how we think, how we live our life. And, you have a different background, a different religious background than I would, or that you do. I mean, because you came from Asia and the Philippines, very different religious background, a
Right.
very different background in education and training than you would coming
Yes.
from the Middle East.
Right.
And the thing is, we got to celebrate our differences,
Right.
and it's not up for the government, these unelected bureaucrats. I keep harping on it. It's not up for the unelected bureaucrats to say, no, you can't think the way that you think.
That you used to think.
Yeah. Because
So
if
they're
they can,
canceling.
if they can say to a doctor who has years of training, some unelected bureaucrat who doesn't even have a doctor degree, can tell a doctor what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, what can they do to you on, that's not appropriate religious belief. That's not appropriate, you have to do what we tell you to do. You can only say what we tell you to say. And this is a very dangerous slope that we have seen because of COVID, where these unelected bureaucrats are dictating what we believe, dictating what we say, dictating where we go, what jobs are important. This is un-American. It's not appropriate. And that's why I'm going to go to D.C. is to fight to return us to our basic fundamental
Yes,
freedoms.
very good. Yeah. You have my support already.
Well, thank you.
Me too.
I
Already
love
from before you even came here.
Yeah.
Amazing personality.
We didn't care. I didn't care about the senators before. I mean, not in the Philippines, but here, like whoever is there, I trust them. That's how we are, right? We trust them. But the president, probably we can choose. But now you're telling me this, and it's really good to know that.
Oh, the whole government
Yeah.
is more important.
Yeah,
because
that
they're the
is
ones who
very
put
important
the law.
because you're the one who's representing our state.
Yeah, it's your United States Senator and your congressman who are supposed to, under our form of government, pass the laws. In the federal government, it is your United States Senator and your congressman. In the state, to pass your state laws, is your state senator and your state assemblyman or woman. In your county, it is your county supervisor. In your city, it is your city council. And these are probably the most important people that you elect because they're the ones who are responsible for passing the laws that govern us. It's not the judges. The judges are supposed to enforce the laws. It's not your president or your governor. They're just supposed to enforce the laws.
Right.
And so it is very important that you figure out, is the person who I'm voting for, are they going to be representing my values? Are they, who's donating to them? Is it big tech? Is it big pharma?
They make money.
Is it, big business?
No.
Or do they owe their allegiance to somebody else? Or do they owe their allegiance to we the people?
We the people.
What is their track record? A lot of people, have served a lower office, and then they're stepping up the chains and taking another office and another office and another office. What is their track record as an individual? Now, I have not ever held public office, but you can see my history where I have taught and been involved with our Constitution since I was a teenager. I understand, I have a framework of how I'm going to be making my decisions. But then I also have a litigation history where I fought for we the people against the tyrannical government. Look at the politicians who are running. What is their track record? Are they just get along? Are they just taking money from special interests? Because that's who they're going to be answerable to. They're not going to be representing you. And here's the deal. If you do not like what's happened, what has that politician done in the last 2 years? If you do not like the fact that your barber or beautician was shut down, don't support Gavin Newsom or any Democrat in the state of California.
Right.
Because they were behind it. They pushed it. Go vote for somebody else. Don't vote for those people. Don't vote for people who, and regardless of party, don't vote for somebody who said, I'm not going to fight for your children. You know what? I'm going to just do whatever whatever the unions are telling me to do. If you have somebody like that, get rid of them.
Is that why people are moving out of California?
I mean, there are a lot of reasons why people are moving out of California. People can't stand the politics. People can't afford to. Their jobs are leaving. There's a lot of jobs moving to Texas, and maybe you're in a profession that's like, my job's there. I can get paid over there.
Yeah.
Is there anything, whether state or federal, that can help in the next 2 years to lower the inflation in California? Because it's more than a lot of different cities.
Inflation is affecting all Americans, and so what we can do immediately is we got to cut government spending. And if we start balancing our federal budget, that's going to have a real impact here on every American. And that's what I'm going to do when I go to D.C. is I'm going to start fighting against this bureaucracy, against this out-of-control spending.
But why are they, what are your thoughts about it? Why are they doing this? Like just printing money, overspending instead of budgeting?
Because it's, if you don't
because they make money.
No, it's a lot easier to say yes than no. Think of yourself as a parent.
Right.
Is it easier to tell your kid that you can have a cookie or that they know you can't have a cookie?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, because if you tell your kid, no, you can't have a cookie, 5 minutes later, what's the kid going to do?
He's going to cry.
He's going to cry, or can I have a cookie? Or
steal the cookie.
The thing is, when you control the purse strings, there are lobbyists who are constantly at your door saying, hey, we need this money for this. We need this money for this. We need this money for this. And these lobbyists, well, they write campaign contributions. And if you put it in with enough other bills, it's like, well, I voted for that, but I was because of all these other things that were up in my constituents. Pork barrel spending.
Right.
It's real easy to say yes to pork barrel spending because you get, it's like, oh, there were 5 projects I liked and maybe 3 I didn't like, and I was voting for this, I wasn't voting against this. It's very easy to say yes. It's very hard to say no to the lobbyists who are giving you campaign contributions, and that's why it's important to find candidates who do not owe their seat to lobbyists. For me, in my race for U.S. Senate, 60% of all my contributions have come from people who've given less than $200. I don't owe them. I don't owe special interest.
Right.
I am being elected by we, the people.
Right.
The people who are supporting me are people like you who are fed up
Yeah.
with what the government's doing.
Right.
You know, they don't have the ability to write a $23,200 check to my campaign. But what they do have the ability to do is maybe write a $50 or $100 or $150 check.
Right.
You know, and that's who I owe my allegiance to, and that means when I go to DC, it's a lot easier for me to tell the lobbyists no, because where were you when I was running for office? You weren't writing checks to my campaign.
Right.
I got into this office because the people wanted me there.
Right.
And so that,
But
you know.
don't you think that's, so you're saying that's corruption, right? Like that's basically.
Well, you know, unfortunately,
Not
it's called
because
free
that's
speech.
Free speech, America.
Or that's how they have to put it. So
That's how the courts have put it. You know, the thing is, we have a lot of problems. There's a lot of solutions to these things, but you're never going to take money out of politics. But what we have to do is we have to put our voices into it. Because here's the deal. If every Californian made a contribution of $10 a month, $120 a year, to one candidate, there would be more money in politics than what's being put in by special interests. Special interests are able to buy legislatures because we, the people, say, you know what, my little bit of money doesn't matter. No. If we, the people, put our money into politics, you know, what is $10 a month? That's less than a movie ticket a month. If we simply funded one campaign, it would have such a major impact on our elections.
Right.
Because politicians would have the funds to run a campaign.
Okay.
It costs money to send a text.
Right.
It costs money to send an email.
So
those signs that you see on the street, those cost money.
Right. So how if they want to support you, all like her network, my network, where do, like just you, for example, where can we send our support?
Go to markmeuser.com,
Okay.
markmeuser.com, and there's a big red button in the top right-hand corner that says contribute.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
you guys need $10 a month, 120 a year.
Yeah.
That's really nothing
totally
to support this. Yeah, it's a cost.
Yeah.
For everything.
I do believe that.
For your kids' school, we're very lucky that here we have such amazing education. We can get better education for a good government and a better government.
Yeah.
It's already good,
Yeah.
but we want to make it even better.
It's nowhere near as good as it can be.
So I want to
Should-
ask you
that
another
should-
question, really like as a business question. So all these people who did get COVID money, like schools or churches, and we weren't lucky enough to get anything. But like all these other constitution or people, we don't have much employees,
There's
like
the PPP,
people loan
yeah.
and all this. So that's not
That's
fair.
not-
Like
yeah.
we worked so hard. I had to pay
Yeah.
for all this.
I
So-
didn't get those
yeah,
support.
so how is there anyone going to go check if the seats is spended? Because I don't think that's fair between people who got it and who didn't get it, and we had to work hard. So
Yeah.
how come some got it, some didn't? How?
Yeah.
And is anybody going to go check it, or is the money just gone in air?
Unfortunately, probably a lot of the money has gone, but the
Yeah.
thing is, there's a lot of people who were promised COVID relief funds, you know, a lot of small businesses, and they never got it.
Yeah.
And so what has to happen is there needs to be a level of accountability. Unfortunately, the politicians made sure that those people who were writing them campaign checks
Gets it.
got the money. And,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
why it's so important that we
They're big
make...
corporations.
That's why it's so important to make sure, you know, I'm running a campaign for U.S. Senate. In order to get my message out this November, I'm going to need to probably do $20-40 million. Well, you know what? There are, 40 million Californians. That meant if every Californian simply sent me $1, I would have the budget that I would need.
Right.
Unfortunately, not everybody is an adult, or but that, and there's multiple races. But that's why I said, if everybody just gave, $120 a year to a candidate, these campaigns would have the funds to get their message out, where they didn't have to take money from big pharma or big tech or big business.
Because they're already sustained.
They already have the money that they
have
need.
the money.
And that's where I want to be supported by we the people. I don't want to have my campaign funded by big lobbyists.
Yes.
I want to go to DC and just tell them, get out of my office. You're not representing what's best for the Americans. You're representing what's best for you and your business. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Let me represent the people.
Right.
I mean, the big pharma, they own enough, congressmen and senators.
Right.
We the people do not have enough people that are really representing us.
What kind of businesses support politics the most?
Those who have government contracts.
Like trains.
War industries.
War industries, yes. That's why if there's something going on, there's war.
We have a friend like steel companies.
Yeah, and
real estate.
Building, they tend to do it. Realtors are really involved a lot in local government, because the decisions that are made will determine who's moving into their community, who's moving out of their community. So there are a lot of people, lawyers, tend to give a lot, doctors tend to give a lot. I mean, if you're well off, you actually understand how government affects your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the more educated and the more you learn, you understand how important it is. Well, we're so excited. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We can't have enough of you. We're so excited. I know you're going to win whatever comes out, and we will, whatever happens next, we're always looking forward to supporting you in any way we can.
Yeah. We will pray for you.
Yes,
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I know you're going to be guided and blessed.
We are from here on. We want you to, in all our events, I think you are smart in every possible way, not just politics, children, everything really.
Yeah.
Well, we got a very exciting year for voters. Voters over the last 2 years have really been opened up to what a tyrannical form of government is. And just like 1776, where the people of America said, enough is enough, we do not like this king in England telling us who our rulers are, telling us when we can meet, telling us what taxes we have to pay, telling us what we could say. The people said, enough is enough. I'm going to vote for freedom, and we signed our Declaration of Independence. 2022 is a year that parents, the year that we the people say, enough is enough.
Yeah.
We do not want communism.
Right.
We do not want socialism. We don't want Marxism. We don't want this woke progressive agenda. We want our freedom.
Yes.
Because in America, we want the right of self-governance. The right of self-governance is such a fundamental principle that every 2-year-old in the world understands it. Ask a 2-year-old to go take a nap, and they're going to express their right of self-governance. Okay? But in the same way that you as a parent have the ability to check the right of self-governance of a 2-year-old, so we the people said that laws passed by our duly elected representative will check our right of self-governance. We didn't say unelected bureaucrats get to check our right of self-governance. We said it's laws passed by our duly elected representative. And so it is important that in 2022, November, right now the June primary is about who's going to be on your ballot in November. So it's important to get people like me on your ballot in November. But the November election is going to be the election of whether we're going to allow this tyranny from unelected bureaucrats to continue.
Okay.
Is there any choice of governor that that people are having? I know people want to
Yeah.
have a new governor.
Right.
Well, there are 20, I think there's 25 people who are challenging Gavin Newsom.
Oh,
25
no,
people
then-
running for governor?
There's like 26, but Gavin Newsom is one of them. So
Wow.
there's 25 people trying to run against Gavin
against
Newsom.
him.
Wow.
And
That's
I'm
a
gonna
lot.
I'm gonna let your listeners go make a decision on their
Yeah.
own for that. So.
Yeah.
That's a lot of choices.
Yeah, well, no, that's why, but there's only one for the Republican, or?
No, there's a lot of
A lot,
Republicans,
mhm.
there's a lot of Democrats, there's a lot of peace and freedom,
Yeah.
independents. There's a lot of candidates there. The California Republican Party has
Right.
endorsed a guy named Brian Daly.
Isn't that the guy Elon Musk is also?
Running for?
No, he's endorsing also.
I haven't
Oh,
heard.
he's-
I haven't heard who Elon Musk is endorsing. Sorry.
I follow him.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, markmeuser.com, MarkMeuser.com. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, and Twitter. So there's plenty of ways to reach out to me. There is, if you want to volunteer for my campaign, I have my website, markmeuser.com. You can volunteer, you can make a contribution there. And then also, if you want to schedule me for an event, you can also go to schedule, markmeuser.com, and you click the button schedule.
Nice.
And contact me, I'll help you.
Yeah.
Yes,
There you
absolutely.
go.
She knows how to get a hold of my team.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching Samira's show. Until
Everybody,
tomorrow.
Mark Meuser here, running for United States Senate. Tomorrow is election day here in California, and I am on your ballot twice. Once for the full term, once for the short term. So make sure that you get out and you vote tomorrow. I'm a constitutional attorney. I have been on the front lines fighting for your constitutional rights, fighting against these unelected bureaucrats who've been dictating who is essential and who is not. So again, make sure that you get your voice heard tomorrow on election day here in the state of California, and make sure you vote for me twice. Go to markmeuser.com, MarkMeuser.com.